and I'm like sweating and kind of like just, oh my God, I'm like, my brain is not in it. And I'm like, but I have to, like, oh my gosh, the wings and like everything. And like finally left. So that, yeah, I can't. But anyway, it made me appreciate that what these games are doing is complex shit. That even Fortnite, even Epic Games, the server goes down. There's a, I know it's the Frenzy Auto Shotgun that like broke everything, but it made me appreciate like our devs, I guess, because I can't imagine what it would be like behind the scenes, like making everything work. That's just one game. But our Decentraland's so much more than, well, not so much more than that. It's just not saying that at all, but just very complicated.
If anyone here has been to an event in Decentraland and hasn't been in a call with the people running the event, you should definitely try to get in one of those Discords and listen to how shit happens, because half the time it's like, oh fuck, okay, what time? Okay, cool, bet, play that now. All right, bet, cool. And then we're waiting and we're like, does it work? All right, cool. And then we'll fucking figure it out for like 30 seconds and then show. So it's like being on an actual production, being in these back calls while shit's happening.
We need more of that. I miss that. Like the birthday party last year was pretty dope leading up to it. Pretty sleepless, but pretty fun.
Sin, what'd you say about Thing last night?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that that we probably should start at least plotting for CBD 2-year celebration. It's I know that like the 2-year would be on the 25th of May, but like this year I know that maybe we should like push it back a little bit, maybe perhaps a week, because it does conflict with the DCL summit in Argentina. But like nonetheless, we should start thinking about what we want to do.
I think we should outperform the DCL summit in Argentina.
I mean, we already outperformed the DCL.
I know, it'd be so easy, right? Can you imagine me like, hey, there's this actual summit happening, but look at these nerds in this parcel, they're fucking having a great like, I don't know, that'd be funny, it'd be cool.
Okay, so what would it take, like, in your mind, this is just theoretically, like, what does it take to outdo something? Like, is it
do anything in Decentraland, and that is outdoing most things.
Okay, yeah. All right, I kind of set myself up for that one. Yes.
Honestly, just like what we did, fucking, we have more time now. Hi, Scott, love you. We have more time planning right now, I feel like, so we can honestly probably throw some shit together. And also, we did a jacket for the first year. I'm thinking we do a different clothing item, like either shoes or pants, to like plop that on with. So, you know what I'm saying? Just ideas. I'm going to start making coffee.
I agree. Yep. I agree. That was like kind of like the thought, like last year whenever we were putting all this together. Yeah, like either pants or shoes. I'm wondering how the real estate on shoes would be in terms of like, sponsorship.
We can do anything and everything. Up to 500 triangles.
It's been a long time since anybody has published shoes, guys. Like literally nobody has published a pair of footwear this year.
Oh, opportunities.
Well, I've been doing a little research on the marketplace because Sauce had an interesting Twitter post about like why are people, like, it just doesn't feel like there's much of a market, like people aren't curating selling stuff. And it's interesting, like, so I just went through this morning and added up, like there's been this year, since January 1st, 51 wearables published. And out of the 51 wearables published, 17 have earned their curator feedback. So that leaves 32 that have not made a return on their submission fee. That being said, they are like for games and stuff like that. Like Dual Arena published a bunch, and there's other ones that were done, like giveaways for Wellness Week. But it is, I don't know, it's just like an interesting thing that, like, if we're expecting a creator economy, only 17 have made their curation fee back, and most of those were mythics. So like right now, if you want to make your money back, mythic, it seems like it's the only way you could do that. So I don't know, just kind of curious to see others' thoughts on that. That it's a very interesting market
I
right now.
did I did comment on that post, and I said it's because most people that join can't play. So until there's a huge turnaround in something functionality wise on the site, I think that will continue to decline, because unless you have a utility behind the wearable or a thing in Decentraland, it's people in this Twitter space right now is maybe 30% of the people looking through the marketplace, unfortunately. So that's it.
Yeah, and that's Fancy, and I probably take up a big chunk of that. Of the sorry, we like our collections, but yeah, it's interesting just to see how much of that, and like trying to come up with ideas of how to turn that around and how to sell stuff, like how to, what would make people buy it. And it seems like gamification, like having wearables that give you at like some kind of utility in a game, is a huge part of this, or a reward, like, because a lot of these that were published are mythics that you would win as an award, or a mythic. Yeah, I think that's kind of a lot of them, or other
What
things that would give, like, I know, like Knights Vantron, there's this Wasteland Monarch that like gives you powers in the game. Go ahead.
I think what DG did, like early on their website, right? You log on to DG's site and you see your Decentraland avatar like waving and doing emotes and shit. Even now, like the poker, you hop on, and you see your avatar doing stuff. If Decentraland partnered with Nifty to do some sort of that aspect, like where you log on to Nifty and whatever your DCL avatar is wearing updates on Nifty Island, I don't know how that's possible. You know what I'm saying? But like it interrupt, like I want to see my DCL avatar in other places without having to export VRM, import, like do stuff. I want automatic connection of some sort.
That's an interesting
I just wanted
one.
to jump up to say that the hot alpha I have is that Doki is collabing with Sauce for some kind of DG shoes. That I don't know if that's ever going to actually happen, because having talked to Fancy about his collab process, I know that sometimes Doki gets into her like head and perfectionist about things, and then they just like sit on the back burner for ages. But eventually, there will be Doki DG mythic shoes, and that's the only reason I wanted to jump up, was because shoes and Doki.
Okay, well,
That
we
is
better
pretty
get
hot.
you a pair so that you can continue your collection.
I Doki was like, because like on that topic, I was talking specifically to Doki, because Doki was kind of like, she didn't even want to deal with any of the sales thing, like, cause like I showed her like what KJ and Rustan did for their own thing, and she's like, I don't know. I was like, listen, Doki, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't know what you're gonna work out with Sauce, but they just give those away in the contest, so I need whatever you to do to involve selling me one for the the $250 I paid for the KJ. You get me one. And I was just, she's like, okay. And Doki's usually pretty good about honoring dibs, as she says. So I did. I mean, I was like, please, Doki, you can't do this to me, because I've excluded myself from the casino, because I can't keep chasing mythics. It's not a good ROI on my time or happiness. So, but yes, to speak to your someone better hook it up. I did negotiate that. So I don't know. Hopefully, though, she does the auction thing. I was like, I should work KJ and Rustanda. Like, listen, like, there's, between me, Kanessa, Oddrop, and Fancy, like, you'll be able to make, at least 1,000 mana. Come on, get on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fancy had a good point, is that like if you are collabing, like you still have to pay that, like the hair that I had Doki make. I had to pay the creation fee to that. So I have to like make that cost back as well. So I didn't even take that into account, that some of these, because I don't know who is making some of those. But yeah, so out of that 17, there probably are fewer even that made their money back. Last term, you've got your hand up. If you're ready. If not.
He threw his phone across the car or wherever he is now when he heard me just jump in front of him.
Hey, sorry, I was ordering Chick-fil-A breakfast. I'm treating myself. I apologize.
Yum. Do they have a good breakfast?
Oh my God. It's the best chicken biscuit ever. I will stand by that till
Oh my gosh.
the grave. I just had a couple ideas and questions regarding like the wearables market. I'm glad Jared came up because he is a collector and like an avid person in that space, and I am not. So I'm curious, how do we fix that? Like, how do we fix the creator market is like part A, and part B is if you're going to create a game or something like Last Slice is about to release as a proposal, is it better to focus the in-game content around the in-game content or to require wearables to use in the game? If that makes sense, and I can expand if not.
That's a good question. I think just to go to your first point, one idea that's the reason that I started breaking this down. I mean, anything like we do, data should be behind our choices. Like data drives decisions. We just look at how much has the average person needed to make back on their creation, their wearable, in order to make it profitable. Like maybe we need to reduce the publication fee to 50 mana. Like maybe that's it. Maybe at 50 mana, or I'm just giving out like because that's good even number. Like maybe that's the magic number that people can make their profit back easier. Because if we have 51 wearables that have been published this year, 2024, at 100 mana, if we halved that, would we double the amount of people putting their wearables in? So we might actually be able to make more money by having a different price. Go ahead, Scott. I know it's not 100 mana, but it's just $100. My brain's not working 100%. Go ahead, Scott.
I like your thinking. I like expand the envelope a little bit and maybe change the pricing model. I am thinking about how Spotify took Apple to court in the UK because Apple was prohibiting their users of Spotify from knowing about going to like the Spotify website to sign up for the Spotify service, because if you do it through Apple Pay or you do it through the Apple App Store, it's a lot easier, but Apple takes a third, right? So I'm thinking about like Apple Store app pricing, and instead of the lion's share of fees being upfront, being publication, so like 50 mana, or maybe not peg it to a specific, but have actuarials or have some factorial pricing structure so that it fluctuates with the price of mana. I don't know. Make it so that it can adjust, so that if the market improves, then the pricing reflects that. But every time that there is a sale, and I know that's how it is right now, goes back to DCL. I think maybe just looking at it a little differently, that would change a lot of dynamics in the market. But it is a significant upfront cost, and I think part of the benefit of just the way DCL is set up is that we can try these different things. I know I want to get back to Lastrom's point, but just to finish out with what you were saying, Knessa, I think that it really depends. Like, what do we want to accomplish, right? It's a constant conversation that we have around Decentraland as a community. So it's like kind of what Brandon was saying earlier. It's like people need to be able to get in and experience it. So last weekend at Dollhouse, I think the total numbers based on the wallets that I collected was 68 at the party. And if you were there and you're listening and you didn't get your butterfly or send me a DM wallet address, I will make sure to send that to you. But of those 68 people, about 15 were in December first time, and I heard their podcast. So you were mentioning Icy, Brandon, and Stash and those guys, and they hang out with Metamona and Gex and the woman that was here, Morgan, last week, where sort of hijacked the CBD spaces and like did a little tutorial session. Brand new to DCL. And in the first 15 minutes of their Reset podcast that they do every Sunday night, they were talking about DCL and how people that are interested to know what that user experience is like to go and listen to that, because these are the people, they're steeped in Web3 and in crypto and in AI, and they were having trouble. It's like deja vu all over again. When CBD Spaces started 2 years ago, it seems like this is the same fucking conversation we were having back then, right? So I'm really excited. I want to hear Lasterm talk more. I don't want to give away anything, but it's super exciting what Last Slice has in the works. And just one little plug. I want to encourage people that are interested in the In-World Builder or any of the other projects.
Did we lose Scott?
Yeah, I didn't know if it was just me. You're kind of cutting out, Scott.
Sorry. Am I there?
Yeah, you're there now.
And he's gone. To answer Lasterm's question about what is the best way for a game to use wearables, I really feel like Knights of Antrim does a great job of it. It's a good balance of using wearables as rewards, and then they also do like mythic sales to help generate revenue, which which have good in-game bonuses. I feel like they really do a good balance of, and same, and I think Broomway does the same thing. So I shouldn't just it's not just KOA, but I think KOA is in a good job of cultivating the community who's like excited to like with Zesty and Bacon Grease and there's like they got like 5 dudes who are prepared to degen into full mythic sets whenever they drop them. So I think that's probably why they're like the first one that comes to mind. But I think they're not the only ones excelling at doing it. But I feel like gating things behind wearables in the way that like Ice Poker did, I think that's probably not a good model for growth, because like as much as I love Ice Poker and DG, like the only reason that worked was because there was like a huge LP or liquidity pool of money for people to like take those wearables and then go make at the start of it you could make tens of dollars a day kind of time.
Yeah, that's awesome insight. To sort of go further without giving too much more detail yet, but we had talked about this a few weeks ago and we aligned on it, Jared and I specifically, but the room was sort of in consensus. So let's say you have a game. Would you rather, and again, this is like open-ended to anybody, and trying to make Decentraland better, right, and attract newer users, because as Scott mentioned, it was nice to see 15 new people in DCL. Percentage-wise, that's amazing. Would you rather in a game buy an in-game power-up or have to go buy that wearable to have the power-up?
I mean, me personally, wearable. But I do know Knights of Antrim has actually, they have in-game pets they did that like you could buy for 10 mana each that have associated bonuses, and I know that like I think those have been very popular, and I think people really like those because like one of the things that is annoying sometimes is having to put on your wearable, because like if you're someone who plays a lot of DCL games, Like there's
Or
only
have
5
to go
slots.
buy
If you play 6 games, it can be a hassle to like, oh, now I'm at Exodus, I gotta put my Exodus wearables on, now I'm in KOA, now I'm at Ice Poker. So like I definitely think that like just being able to summon your Dragon, Phoenix, or Owl to get the associated bonus is like I definitely think people do like that. I think offering a mix is absolutely like a viable option. Now I don't know which is necessarily better, but I think that like I imagine most normal people who aren't like, you know, DCL like diehards and wearable enthusiasts would probably just as like who are like in a traditional mobile game when you buy something like you can't use it anywhere else. Like you don't get the benefit of looking cool in a different part of the world when you know you buy something in a, you know, Candy Crush. So I suspect most people would probably be more like accustomed and comfortable with just the buying the in-game power up kind of vibe. But I think that, you know, a mix is probably like a good balance, since there are definitely going to be the people who are just like, you know, like I'm not going to spend, you know, and Zesty's not going to spend $200 on, you know, some random in-game power up. But if it comes with like a dope wearable that makes him look like, you know, an epic, you know, Hell Knight, he's going to be more inclined. Because that also gives you that like, because that appeals to the collector. Because like deep down inside, you know, we're all kind of like, oh, this could be my Black Lotus. I'm going to pay way too much money for this digital shoes on layer 1 I just bought earlier this week, because there's, if DG ever becomes, you know, the Caesar's Entertainment of Web3 gambling, it will be a collector's item. You know, you need that. Like, I don't know. There's like, I think the collectability part is nice for me, at least.
I think having something tangible that you know later you could resell, kind of like you said, Jared. So far, that hasn't worked out well for I think most any of us to like buy something that we can resell later for like more value. But you look at other games and you can't resell stuff at all. Like you can't resell your account. You just keep putting money in, putting money in, putting money in. And at the end of it, if you rage quit, you just have to leave it because it's illegal to sell your account. I'm thinking more like, you know, the traditional games. And so having something tangible like that, that's not just an in-game power-up boost, but you get the boost plus that you're buying that hope that someday you can resell it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's spot on. I agree with that. But I think that like I do think there's a balance. I think as a game creator, like you can definitely have your like lower ticket items that are boosts, like because like their pet's only 10 mana, which admittedly I think when they first released the mana was probably closer to $1. But like regardless, they're still not that expensive. And like and they also have wearables you can, but then like also having those mythics you can get for 200 mana. You know, I think there's like a nice balance. Because I also think that there's like the Tobics and the alphas who will call things like, oh, it's pay to win kind of a vibe, which I don't think like. So you got to strike that balance because like because I think like what Vroomway does a good job is like, for example, they have the like there's items you can buy on secondary, but you can also grind and earn them in game. So it's not like it isn't pay to win. Like you can absolutely play and get this generally the same thing. Like obviously the mythics they did pre-sale still have some like slightly betterness, but in general like a nice balance is where I think it's good to strike.
I would also say for wearables, everyone that plays video games, like especially online games, knows about like CS:GO skins. Everyone thinks like, oh my god, is that the like you can date back what Jared's saying, like the Caesar's Palace thing. You can date back a specific skin back to a specific thing, and that just as a gamer, you could be like, oh shit, do you have the season 2, whatever? That's cool as fuck. So I definitely think that having a wearables that advance along with the game kind of creates its own like lore and just level up cool.
This is all great stuff. I want to keep going on this if possible. If you were providing cosmetic things, right, like CS:GO skins, my knowledge, they don't provide any power up, right? So I think I misspoke when I was talking about power ups. But what about more cosmetic things? Would you like to have them as part of a wearable? And it's just cool that you get to have, for instance, let's say, I use Nikki because we were on a call all together, and Nikki asked why. I said the Nikki squirt gun, but think of Nikki a squirt gun. And when you go to play a Nikki game, do you want to have the squirt gun wearable, or just have that squirt gun available in this ecosystem every time you go play the game?
I think having the ability to put it on would be fun, but if the wallet like it auto scanned your wallet and saw that you had the squirt gun and still gave you the access to it would be cool too. But the ability to put it on would be dope.
Now, admittedly, I have been slacking on my Broomway play sessions, but I'm pretty sure Nikki did actually implement the ability to like have the skin, like you can go into the UI and put on your skin without actually having to put on the wearable. I could be totally
Yes, sir.
misremembering, but I
Yeah,
believe that's
you can do
true.
that.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I do agree with you that I think that like more games should have that. Like now, obviously, if you're having power ups along with the cosmetic, you can't do like people complain that KO is like, why don't you just let us just use all our power ups just sitting on the wall? It's like, well, because then you'll be an unimaginable god, and balancing that game is really hard when you have 10,000 different wearables. But yeah, I do agree that with the cosmetic side, absolutely.
For most video games, like the cosmetics and skins and stuff, CS:GO, all those, like it's purely cosmetic. Overwatch, what they do is you can buy a character, and that character has different skill set abilities. And like only Battle Pass players can play him. He doesn't have a huge advantage, but he does alter the game style of the match. So it. I would say most games do purely cosmetic, and if you add a power up, then people start doing the pay to pay to win whatever. So it's like tricky.
I feel like there's a good balance you can do where it's like if you're in the PVE side of things, so like KOA is eventually going to have like multiplayer dungeons and stuff. Where in that, like I feel like when you're just doing PVE, like you're just like going to grind against mobs, give them the power up, let them grind easier. Because but like once you're doing PvP stuff, I do agree that you can't just like make it pay to win. That's no fun. So like I think it's a good I think there are games that have like kind of that balance where it's like okay, when you do PVE, you get these bonuses, but when you're going to go play against other human beings, you got to rely on your skills. And like you can obviously have the higher, unlock down further down the skill tree faster in PvE because like you're a grown up with a job. You can't grind this 12 hours a day like a teenager. But like there's a balance you can find for sure. But still blows my mind. People have paid like millions of dollars or like six figures for like CS:GO skins. I'm just like, really? Do you really need the golden gun that bad? Damn, guys.
There's a game called War Thunder, and you can it's airplane war simulator basically, and you start out with World War I planes, like they're slow as fuck. People pay like $30,000 to buy like Harriers on that game. So, and they definitely have an advantage because it's more advanced technology, but it's people don't really bitch about that one. So I don't know. There's like a happy medium you can achieve somewhere.
Let's see. I'm not sure who had their hand up first.
I think Scott did.
Yeah, Scott, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Loud
Yes, sir.
Okay.
See.
All right. Again, I'm on my walk with Skylar, as I do during CBD Spaces. But I guess my answer is, why not both? The little girl is like, why not do both? And then have it be an option where if you have the more complex mechanics of having both, then you could just disable one end of that and make it just cosmetic, or make it just a power up with minimal cosmetics or whatever. I think about both, and whenever I think about disable, play to win, one end of that, play to earn, or make it those type of just a power up with minimal economics or whatever. I think about whenever I think about disable, I still run one end, I still do marathons and foot races and stuff. And I got into triathlons just as like a next level of skill set. But then I quickly got frustrated because there were people that would spend $5,000 on a carbon fiber light as an eyelash bike, and we'd have physically we'd be matched almost exactly the same in terms of like CO2 output or aerobic capacity or whatever. But then that person with the $5,000 bike would zip past me, and I complained about this to one of my more experienced triathlon friends, and he's like, "Oh, dude, triathlon is all about the bike. It's like you could be the best swimmer or the best runner, but if you've got the money sunk into the bike, I mean, that's the reality of that. It's like, of course, there's going to be people that are in top shape, much better shape than I am, that are going to kick my ass no matter what kind of bike I have. But I think, Brandon, you you were kind of getting to the point that I was going to make, which is there's a certain level of acceptability, right? It's like if everybody knows that this is one of the possibilities, that you're going to go up against some of my students, right? You know, they're 12, 13, 14 years old. They could not wait to get home and start the new Fortnite season. And then there's going to be people that have purchased level ups, and you know, somebody like myself who I work 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. I'm not going to have time to grind. So I just wanted to echo kind of the argument that Brandon said. So I think it's a both and I think having that power as a creator makes you know, if it doesn't add too much complexity, I think that would be really key, because here we are 2 years on, and we do have some content that is very enjoyable and playable. Jared, you've talked about, you know, all of the main examples, but it's like somebody like myself, you know, I still haven't created Giving Tree, and it's not that I'm not smart enough. Well, no, it probably is. I just don't have the coding ability. But if there were a set of tools where I could, much in the same way that Rustan did for his Hyperfy world, if I could gamify something with all of the donated wearables for Giving Tree, those 15 new people that came to Decentraland after they were done at the birthday party, we could be like, okay, you know what? You want to get ready for this, or you've had a good time here. Why don't you go on this quest and get yourself, you know, 3 legendary wearables that are hidden somewhere in Decentraland on a scavenger hunt. I mean, that would get people on the 90,000 parcels. That would do so much to engage the people that are still coming here in drips and drabs, but it might increase it to a trickle or even a torrent.
Well, and Scott, wouldn't that kind of be what quests can do?
You know, I've talked to the people at Foundation, at least initially, about the quests, and it has to be a new wearable. It can't be my specific example of I've got something like 800 different items, and these were all either donated or things that I, you know, bought scraped off the floor in the marketplace on secondary. In order to organize something like that, it's more complicated. But if I mint something brand new, and then we get back to, you know, publication fees, and to have anything that's worthwhile, I think there needs to be variety. It either has to be something really fucking kick ass that everybody's going to want, and that means that it has to be rare, and or it needs to be impeccably designed, you know. So then that's creator fees, because that's beyond my capabilities as a creator. So I would hire somebody like Nikki or Brandon or Doki, or, you know, whatever. But yeah, just to have that variety. I don't think the questing system as it is right now gets us there. I'm not saying that it's totally not possible, but it's not ideal.
Well, let me jump in and talk, Scott, quickly. If anybody did the Halloween or Christmas Angzar, we had hundreds, actually thousands of wearables that were randomized that you could win. And so we have that system, and it's those are secondary wearables. We actually had primary and secondary wearables. The quest system can connect to the reward server. The reward server is primary wearables. That's where the hiccup is. So you need a custom solution to say, I already have this wearable minted, transfer it from wallet A to wallet B. And we have that at Angzar. We've done that. You've seen it at Halloween. So to take your idea and speak on that quickly before getting back to the other gamification, you could easily put that stuff in a wearable and have 800 random wearables throughout Decentraland. The hard part is choosing those locations inside 90,000 parcels, because at Angzar, you know, we have 400 parcels, but Mies, you know, I built a system for Mies to go around, and he says, I want a random location here. He clicks a button, and our server captures where that is, and it saves it. So you would have to do that same thing around 90,000 parcels to make sure that the random items aren't in a wall, they're not stuck in the stairs or stuck behind a wall that you can't get to. So there's difficulty in the choosing the randomized locations. Everything else is set up. We've already got that, and that's something that we're going to hopefully bring to IWB soon. So that's there. So we can talk about Giving Tree, but I definitely wanted to get back to the point of this creator part and how do we improve these creator sales. And my follow-up question is, if you were a creator and you had the ability, these CSGO skins, all of these skins, Fortnite skins, Grand Theft Auto shark cards, like it's a one-way transaction. You can't exchange for fiat in the other way. I can't, maybe you can sell a Fortnite skin. I don't know how you do that. I'm
No,
not
you
familiar
can't.
with that yet.
You can't. It's against their code of ethics to
Okay.
sell your.
Okay, so we already are ingrained and trained as gamers that the skin is cosmetic for most games outside of Web3. So the question is, if you had an ability to be a creator of a game skin or a game gun, would you be able to make more money creating these cosmetic in-game items versus the wearables? So, getting back to, should you have wearables in games or just have in-game items? If creators were able to, if they were able to create in-game items, would they make more money doing that, or make more money creating wearables? Like, we're trying to improve this like creator ecosystem. So would that work? I mean, would that be
Okay,
good?
but then how would they buy those? Because would like, I'm thinking Wonder Zone, where I can buy the in-game item if I pay like ETH mana, which is ungodly expensive, and it is hit or miss. I'm probably one of the few people that I actually bought coins. But like,
Right.
what currency would that be in if it's in-game? Would that be
Polymana. I think we start with Polymana, and then DCL is now allowing other transaction types, and hopefully they expose those functionalities to us developers. But I'm just wondering if there was a way where you as a creator don't have to go through the $100 wearable fee to recoup and have people buy to use in a game, or if you could create a 3D model of a gun for free, your time, and upload it to this in-game system, and then you use that in-game item, and somebody maybe says, oh man, Nikki's squirt gun's only 5 mana, like it does 0 power-ups, but it looks freaking badass, and they buy it, and Nikki didn't have to do the 100
Lastrom, how about this?
submission.
How about the in-game option creates a proof of concept or proof of marketability? So if a squirt gun by Nikki is only available in game, and then there's, let's say, 100 or 50 transactions for that in game, then it reaches a certain threshold, and then people are able to trade it outside of the game. It then becomes, an asset in the primary, secondary market in Decentraland. So then it becomes a wearable that I could bring anywhere else into Decentraland.
I like that concept. I know we've been talking about this behind closed doors, so trying to expose some of our thought process to a larger community of, maybe if you get so many, rewards in the game that you can unlock the actual digital item, the wearable NFT of that in-game item. But I do like where you're going with that too. I'm just curious. We're trying to improve the creator economy, and that's what Decentraland is about. And it doesn't seem like wearables are a great ROI for a creator if you're looking to have sustainability or profitability. So is there a better way or a different way to try and integrate creativity at a lower barrier of entry and cost and a greater marketability within some upcoming games?
Well, as the core of it, and I hate to acknowledge that Brandon's right that DCL's problem is DCL, but like to most, like in mobile gaming, which is where I'd worked when I worked in gaming, like 2% of users are like the average who are going to be spending any amount of money in your game. And of those 2%, like 80% or more of them are never going to spend more than $5. So like ultimately, like DCL just needs to have a much smoother and more like efficient onboarding funnel through its like, it needs to be onboarding like lots of people for creators to be making money, because it is at its core like a DAU problem. Though I do agree with you that I think that if you implemented a system that allowed creators to have the option of cutting out the wearable curation fees and like reducing their overhead costs, that seems like an excellent, like, a great tool to have in their like toolbox as a creator for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking internally, MetaZone, what an absolute sham. I used to work with those guys. I thought their concept is fabulous, but they fell apart. I don't know what they did. They got some funding and now they're all bit boys doing their bit ordinals, which, kudos to that. But their concept was great. The metas where it unlocked this different creator economy, kind of what DCL was trying to, or has on their roadmap, I think, of some marketplace or something. But we've been talking closed doors about, how do we, what if Jared, what if there was a shooter game and Jared was allowed to create the Jared squirt gun? Would people want to buy that cosmetically? Allowing Jared to make that money, but also allowing the user to customize the look and feel within the game. Like, is there a market there for that type of transaction?
I definitely think that, like, absolutely, that is something I think makes sense that would be wanted, but I just think that, like, as with all like good ideas, like none of them are going to be the like $1 million idea until there's like a million BAU kind of a thing. Is the MetaZone are the dudes who did Rovi and stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're really nice dudes. I mean, like I can't fault them for maybe just kind of getting frustrated with DCL and realizing like it's
totally.
like it takes a certain type of stick to itiveness and insanity to really just still be here, being like, no, we can fucking make it work, guys. We can pull this off. And like I can't necessarily fault them for going to Ordendales or whatever they're whatever the bitmap, whatever the new BTC metaverse that's someday will exist. I'll be super bitter I didn't buy one for $25.
About a year and a half ago, around Metaverse Fashion Week, I was talking to some people that were doing some interesting stuff in the space where they would take, I guess the 3D asset version of some blank slugs, for like baseball caps and shirts and sweatpants and stuff. And they were allowing people to upload textures and with a really simple WYSIWYG UI, customize your shirts. And I connected them with some people on Foundation, and it was a hard no. And I'm like, really? Because I think the mindset was very much in the past of like how Decentraland wearables were created, where you get bespoke items that are created and then put on the marketplace. With this artisanal whatever, like you got a medallion, right? It's kind of like the medallion taxi service, and it was cutting out people like if Jared wanted to make a squirt gun or a T-shirt or whatever. But I was really surprised by it, and I think Malloy also had he had some sort of proposal. Maybe it was 18 months ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, but it was quite early on in my time in Decentraland, where it was something similar, where people could come in and rapidly customize things, and they would be like one-offs, like they would be uniques, and it just didn't work with the pricing structure. So I like where you're going with this last term, where if we can, like Roblox, right? There's a whole bunch of kids basically that are able to take something that already exists, put their own personal stamp of creativity on it, put it back on the marketplace, and then have to pay like 30 cents on the dollar to list their thing on the market. So if they sell 10 of them, big deal, they made $7. But hey, $7 to one of my 13, 14-year-old students, that's almost all the way to a Robux or a V-Bucks gift card.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have some things coming out, and obviously Job and some people on this call are privy to that information. And Jared would, if you would, I don't know if you blocked me on Discord, but it would be nice to be a friend again so we could DM and ask you some ideas, because you do have good ideas when we talk like this, and get your input on it. Because is it a problem of the wearable fee that's so high that's hindering creators, or is it there's just not a marketplace to buy enough? Have enough people to buy the thing to validate the $100. Because I've always been a proponent of the high, $100 wearable fee, where it's not that much money, but it is. And over time, if you're creating 20 wearables at $100, that's a lot of money. And I think a part of the onus and responsibility is on you to maybe not do that until you do get some sales. But trying to figure out that balance, because if you do remove the wearable fee, right, we go with this in-game system that we're creating at Last Slice, and we allow anyone to create these in-game items and sell them, like a 1% fee or something, to the whole system for sustainability. And then the creator, sells something for 5 mana and gets 4 mana for that without paying $100. Would that have more creators, and or would more people be buying those things?
I think that in general it is probably more the marketplace than the cost. Though I do think it would make sense to maybe implement some kind of system where it's like you can your first wearable or two you can submit, and then you just like for free, but you just have a much higher cost on the sales side of things. But I think from the foundation's perspective and everything is like the curation process, whether you love it or hate it, like it does make some amount of sense to make, because the foundation doesn't want to end up legally on the hook when someone copies Adidas Yeezys verbatim, and then do they want to have, or if you try to implement a backpack that looks exactly like Bowser's shell, they don't want to get sued by Nintendo, which even though
there'd be zero income at the DAO. There'd be zero income at the DAO if there were no wearable fees.
Well, no, they still get 2.5% of wearable sales. I also never mind. I noticed that today that when they tally up how much wearable creators are making on the marketplace, they actually deduct the amount of money the curation fees get. Because I sold $200 sunglasses this week, and it only shows as if I'd sold $190 glasses or mana glasses. I was like, you bastards, come on, let me at least have the bigger number for my own satisfaction. But what was the actual question? But yeah, I mean, you do, because you need the curation process to some extent. But I do think that there's enough money in both the foundation and the DAO treasuries that you could argue that they could be expected to cover that, at least for one wearable per creator. Though, as everyone always pointed out, but then they could just make new wallets and game the system, which is why Web3 can be kind of frustrating. So I don't know. Maybe there's a KYC. Or whatever whatever not kill yourself, but the one where you reveal yourself as a customer, as a human, some kind of requirement
Proof of
for
humanity.
free wearable submission.
Proof of humanity.
Yeah, there we go. That's the one. KYS is the bad one. KYC is know your customer.
Yes,
I think,
KYC, right? And then there's AML, which is anti-money laundering. So if you do any financials, you have to provide that. I think there's a solution in here, Lastrom, where to address Jared's point about the legalities, I think there's a way around it. Just because it's an asset that is in Decentraland, because it's a decentralized and open system, because up until somewhat recently there were multiple third parties that were hosting servers. Couldn't there be a third-party asset server? So since that's where the assets live, or just completely on IPFS, it's an asset that is in the correct format that Decentraland recognizes. It's then loaded up into the game, but because of its very open nature, couldn't that indemnify the foundation and the DAO of any legal requirement to police it?
That's a good point. I do like where you're going, and we can change the topic. I just wanted to, or we can stay on it. Just wanted to give some insight into what we're hoping to achieve very shortly. And Jared would like to have your thoughts and opinions on it, because we think it's necessary, it's required. We think it can unlock creators that might shy away from the wearable submission fee, and unlock new creators in ways that haven't been done yet in Decentraland. So we're really excited. So if anybody has any other questions about it or want to talk about it, we can continue or change the subject. But yeah, those were my questions. So it's all been super helpful and great insight.
And for the record, because you're not the first person to say I have them blocked, Mr. D also did. I don't have anyone blocked. I just only accept DMs from friends, and/or the only server I ever had open DMs from was the DAO Discord. So I will be open to accepting DMs sometime in October, I guess. As you know, but I just think I just removed you as a friend because I'm a big baby sometimes. You know, sometimes I'm just like, my feelings are hurt. Fuck this person. I don't want to talk to you.
No worries. I appreciate that. We can talk, and like I said, you have good insights, and you have a different perspective as a user in the space and a collector. So it's always good to get your thoughts on these things.
Also, to be fair, whenever I tried to talk to you about things that I was like thinking of for the formula, I was like, I don't really like to talk about things in the private, which is fair because I get like, some people like, I was always just trying to get your consensus on a thing as a person who couldn't engage in the DAO forum. So I was like, well, there isn't even a point. He doesn't want to talk about the things I want to talk about. So I was just like,
no problem.
Because otherwise, I'm just gonna eventually send you, fuck off or something. I think was probably the last thing I said before I was like, you know what, this isn't mentally healthy. I should save both of us from myself.
It's a good day in Decentraland.
Yeah, so I guess to wrap it up, we're creating some really unique tools that will allow, hopefully, a lot more interactivity and functionality and creativity in the space. So we're not here pitching it yet. We're gathering the best ideas because we have our own ideas and we think it's going to be the best way, but we don't want to just build this for us. Anything we do isn't just for us. So we want to build it for us as a community whole, and then hopefully the larger newcomers into the space, especially with mana pumping. I think the bull run is here in all of those buzzwords in the Web3 space. So I think Decentraland, hopefully with the client and with some of these tools we're building, will be better positioned to have more stickiness in the space.
I'm not by any means a DeFi master, but my understanding is that like technically the only reason air quote mana is pumping is because it is paired with like ETH in the liquidity pool. So like technically like, and that's the same reason that DG's tokens are going up, or like any of these kind of like coins I am owned or aware of, is because like they're paired with Ethereum, so, or Bitcoin or whatever, but lesser paired with Bitcoin. But so whenever those things pump, the value of the liquidity pool that they are a part of goes up. So each individual like mana or bag token or whatever, those in turn go up. So the only reason if they're possibly pumping is because of the grant freeze, so they're not shilling out like $1 million a month on DJ battles, is my belief and understanding, though I could be totally wrong, and that there are in fact people buying large swaths of mana. But anyway, that's just my ADHD. Unrelated note, it turns out that it seems like the most popular Kinessa emote, based on my very limited replies on my very unofficial scientific inquiry, is the hula hoop. So if anyone else has any opinions on what the best Kinessa emote is, would love to get your feedback on one of my more recent Twitter posts.
Honestly, the one where the laying down one with the feet kicking.
The one where you're on your stomach, or the one where you're on your back?
Stomach one, I think. Or the feet. Oh man, those are both good. Those two I would plop on there.
That's funny you say that, because the one I posted was me on my stomach, because I was like going through I was like, what are my like best Kinessa emotes? Because sadly I don't have nearly enough. I need to go buy some more. But I was like, but she has released so many that like I get like purchaser paralysis. So I was like, I don't know what to buy. Like I need other people's feedback, because like I'm like, the swing is dope, and then like and the hula hoop is also, that seems pretty popular, and I get why it's so. But it's like easier to justify the not emote 2.0 ones, because like they're cheaper, because Kinessa had to do way less miserable headache frame by framing things. So I'm like, okay, like 10 mana, yes. Though the swing is very affordable by your average emote 2.0. I think it's only 20 mana. But anyway, I digress.
Well, I mean, that brings up
everyone should go buy a Kinessa.
Yeah, like that. It brings up or brings us back around to like curation fee, because I don't really publish wearables, but I published probably. I think I've published like maybe the most emotes. I haven't counted. I don't know. Scott's published a bunch, but like I that costs the mana to publish it, and then I get some sales and I get mana back, and like right now I've got like 0.88 mana, like Polygon mana in my account, and so I haven't bought, like there's some really cool stuff that just came out, but I haven't bought new stuff because I'm out of money. And so it's kind of like where that creator economy goes, is that like by purchasing from your friends, purchasing from the people in the marketplace. Therefore, then they have enough money to go and purchase from the next person. So it's kind of like if we as a whole are suffering and like nobody's selling emotes, nobody's selling wearables, then there just isn't as much mana like being, you know, circulated in supply. And so I think that back when I was bringing in a lot of ice, Jared, I think that I was like, don't tell Sauce that I'm converting all my ice to mana so I can buy wearables, you know, but like that was my source of like funding my maybe spending habit. And so that economy, it's like we need,
totally legitimate.
yeah, totally. It definitely didn't drive the price down ever. But I think that goes.
Yeah, you single-handedly ruined the economy. It was all you with your sweet wearables. Though, you know what I did notice that you should complain about? We got to get someone to fix for you. Is like when you click on someone's profile in the marketplace, either one of the tabs is creations, but that only shows wearables they've made. Because like I was trying to like just get a master list of Kinessa emotes so that I could like, you know, pick some good ones. Because like I think you've given me more emotes than I've ever purchased, and I was like I had some mana because I sold some glasses to some degenerates.
Can switch to
And I was
emotes
like,
on
man,
that
I
page,
gotta
I
like
think.
return the. I gotta return the kindness, and I was just like, we gotta get Kinessa's emotes need to be on the creation page when you go to look at your account, because like you are the goddamn, you absolutely have made more emotes than anyone. There's like it's almost impossible for me to believe if someone else has done it. Like they are so far under the radar, it's miraculous. It can't be good for their sales numbers. So, but like when I look at your creations, I should just get to see your creations. I shouldn't have to like, you know intrinsically, or like I guess to be fair, they do list your name on the page, but still.
Can
Like,
you say that again, Psychotic? I know you busted in there, but if you don't just interrupt Jared, you won't ever be able to talk. So please say that again.
Proteus? Was it Proteus?
Yeah, it
Okay,
was me.
whoever-
Sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't mean.
I do want to hear from our friends that are up here. So let's definitely go ahead. You guys have the floor.
Which one, me?
Yeah, Proteus, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, I think on that page on the left, if you click on wearables, you get to see the list of wearables that were created by the account. Oh, I'm trying to pull that up and everything, but I'm not sure.
No, when you click on their names and you click on creations, well, then yes, it does show the words. But the thing I'm talking about is I want to see her emotes. I want to go to look at her. I want to find her in there, click on her name, look at creations, and have all the emotes.
Yeah,
So it
that's what I'm
shows you
talking
in
about. If you go in
fear.
creation, I'm not
Oh.
sure. Yeah, wearables on the left, you click on the emotes on the left, and you see the emotes.
Shut up,
Yeah,
really? One
I'm in
second.
here. I'm
Why?
practicing on my
Why? I don't know. That's a good question. Why isn't it everything by default? That's a good question. But yeah, you go on the left and you get that.
When okay, well, thank you for educating me.
My pleasure.
Now I have to just go re-find her in the store again because here we go. She purchased the Dapper doll.
I rugged earlier while Jared's looking. I'm so happy to say I submitted a candy request and they actually listened. And so now in-world transactions.
Yeah, candy is the way to go.
In-world transactions are a thing. I still don't like candy. It's garbage. It's not the best way at all. But that's
what I meant is that's where they work. That's where they just the place to go to actually be heard.
Okay, all right. Well, let me finish my sentence first. I hate candy. Secondly, you can purchase in world. So Angzar we're gonna have purchasing in world in like the next week or two. So Jared, you'll be able to go in there and type in the search box Kinessa, and it'll have all of the emotes like show up in the little display tubes for her.
So now,
and then you'll be able to
This is
click a button
marvelous
and
news
play the
for all
emote,
things.
and then you can like click on the on-screen UI to go to the next page, and the avatars will reload with more emotes, and then you can press a button to play it. So yeah, I'm so glad the foundation is finally fixed that.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the same in my scene. I've been trying to get the NPC to actually do the custom emotes that we create and all that. And yeah, that would be nice.
Well, this is lovely news that side menu does actually do something. I still find it unintuitive, and it should just absolutely, just when you hit creations, show you all of their creations. But it is nice to know that I can now just see them all in one location. And
so fill out a canny and request it, and then a few months later, maybe it'll happen.
Yeah, I do agree that it is like kind of lame the like how deep into the weeds you have to get a suggestion to the foundation, and then you also have to like DM it to every friend you have to get them to vote and support it before they take it seriously. But But at least they have it. At least there is a means. But I do agree that it is, it is sort of crazy that it's so deep in there.
I want to hear
So-
from Psychotic, who came up a little while ago.
Just along those lines, since we're not just finished. The one thing I think we should do in this respect, and actual Web3 work, is a new smart contracts that could give commissions to someone in such a scene, facilitating the actual purchase of the wearable in the end, just like we have with in current representative sales practices. What's the word? I forgot. But yeah, I think that would be the kind of stuff that would make it the giving an incentive for scene creators to actually facilitate the sales of wearables would, in the end, help that facilitating of sales, that to get the creators in the space to actually make everything look nice. That's what I'm. And so
That makes
in
a lot
the
of sense.
Web3
I,
work,
I disagree.
in
I
that
don't want.
respect,
I don't.
would be
I
nice.
disagree. I don't think the landowners. If you have, you can sell anything. The functionality in Anxar or anywhere else, you can sell anything. So I think the
Well, yeah, but
popularity of selling
he's just
things.
saying to add a commission, making it easier for you as a landowner who's selling something to get a commission from like helping sell Canessa's wearables. I think is like his idea,
Right.
just to make it like add further incentivize you as the like third party sales.
I mean, right now, I think
You don't need to take a commission if you don't want to.
I think that's a waste of
but I
time.
agree with you that having the option there would kind of make. Oh, I mean,
Well, the thing is,
I don't know.
one of the things. Well, I guess I'll talk about it when it's my turn to talk. But I do have ideas about that.
That was very HP of you right there last one. So not waste of time. Come on, it wasn't. I think there's merit to that idea. It's not totally like it's not without,
Going through a whole contract audit
Well, I mean,
and that whole process,
it-
integrating with the marketplace, changing all the other smart contracts. It is a heavy effort.
It's not going to be
reward
changing
creative.
other smart
So I
contracts
was
as
waiting
far
for
as.
Psychotic to talk.
So, Canessa wanted to give the floor to someone else, and then I don't know if I wanted to just take it instead. But if you want me to try to explain further about why I think this is I mean, this is just not an idea I'm throwing out there. Something I've been thinking about for a little bit.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, maybe you
Okay.
could explain a little bit, and then Psychotic. We haven't seen you for a while, so I just and we've been talking, and you've been up here, so I want to make sure that we honor, your visitation and your presence up here. So maybe, maybe we could let Proteus have the floor, and then make sure that we give time for Psychotic to speak. And I guess just everybody, be respectful that we have different people up here at different times, so give them the chance to speak. But Proteus, right now, why don't you elaborate a little bit, because maybe there's just more that we can understand.
Yeah. If I can find the word that would help. I'm so bad with names, words. Ultimately, one of the I mean, things that I think that we should look at is how economy is being done already in today's day and age. There really are a lot of people who make a living basically promoting productions from other people that can be just purchased through the internet, and the way they get this is the way they profit from this is through the commission returns, and this is something that works. This is something that is a has inertia, goes from start to end, and actually gets economy flowing through. So this is the main point. Getting something that would be able to induce the same kind of inertia, the same kind of having what is the name of those people? The people who make a living of promoting content on the internet.
It's like referral sales is kind of what you're talking
Consignment.
about. Affiliate marketers.
Affiliates. There you go. Affiliates.
There you
This is the dynamic I'm wishing to present. This is something that could be pretty easy to implement in a smart contract. It doesn't need to change other smart contracts. It's just simply something. If indeed you have a nice way of like one of the things that there are around a lot. There's a lot of malls around, a lot of places where people can just go and buy clothes and apparels, and that's it's a bit surprising that they can all actually still make money despite the obvious competition they should have with each other, but they're still here. So it is, people just do go buy wearables to look nice. What's really kept me coming to Decentraland, what I think would get people, like the crowds, really to come and stay, it's the events where you can get to emotionally share with other people. The events that I've started to try to see what it's like actually in VR, and it's like it's amazing. I've entered Tank's place in the Quest 2, sorry, and then Quest 3 should be even nicer. That's what I was thinking, and it was one of the biggest holy shit moments that I've ever had. Being in this place where I'd been like, being able to relax finally and engage with people finally. It's not something that's so easy to do in bars or coffee shops. It's just not the same kind of environment. And this kind of place is where first there's a whole segment of the population that can only feel comfortable in this kind of place, and they're going to want wearables to look nice in this kind of place. And this is, and then there we could have lots of malls in the Decentraland where people could be displaying what other people could buy and to look nice and everything. And this is kind of what is prompting me to. This is what is kind of prompting this edition, I guess. That's what I'm getting at. And right, the possibility of making a purchase directly in game also is important as well for the immersion. There's comments that I had from people that they didn't like how it broke the immersion, that they had to go out and for different web pages to buy something. So definitely the kind of work to smoothen stuff in all of these respects is what I feel would be important, especially as a wearable maker myself. Is really what is making me think there's a reason to stay here in Decentraland.
I just wanted to chime in and say that I think the term you were looking for was affiliate marketing. And I think
yes, affiliates.
I think it's definitely a great idea. And I don't think there needs to be a rewritten contract or anything. Like the current contract allows you for delegating wallets to get percentages. So that's something that I think could be worked out between creator and affiliates. But also, you could probably set this up third party in some way, where if you created a wearable, you could, like maybe if Drafo was still around and maybe they could apply some sort of contract that would allow creators to, send a percentage through affiliates that have to sign up on some third party could create a contract that could do that. It doesn't have to be Decentraland, but the options are there. I think affiliate marketing is, yes, a good idea. I don't know how well that would work right now in the current climate with like buyers and sellers, but it's for sure something that's valuable. And with that said too, Angzar has the in-world ability to purchase wearables, which is cool. I mean, everything that Last Slice is building is pushing towards that kind of future awesomeness.
Yeah, and just on that, the affiliate idea, the smart contract, that that's a lot of work, and you have to trust somebody to use that, and you have to audit it. And the way smart contracts work with the wearables, it would be a two-step process. That's why I said it's not worth the time, because the wearable is locked in a smart contract. If anybody knows how they work, that's what it is. So if you have it in that smart contract, in the end, you still have to interact with the Decentraland wearable contract to get it out of it to the purchaser. So if you put a contract in between that, there's a gap or possibility that if I go through Proteus's smart contract to buy Kinessa's wearable, by the time I hit Proteus's smart contract and pay him, which he takes a fee, and then sends the remainder to the wearable contract, the wearable might not be available. It might be gone. It might be off the market. It might be not sold. It might be run out. So when you introduce these other, they have to be third-party contracts. That's my point. Is when you go to a store, if the store doesn't have affiliate marketing, you can't be an affiliate. The only way the store can allow you to be an affiliate, in like just trying to be a metaphorical sense, is to allow affiliate marketing in some technical way where they give you a code, right? And then that code funnels you into their store and you get a percentage of that order based on that code. That is changing the smart contract. That's changing the store's technology. So you would have to do that with Decentraland if you want a seamless, no gap transaction.
Sounds like once again our problem is there aren't enough users in Decentraland, because if there were millions and hundreds or tens of millions of users, it would totally be worth considering that kind of an investment. But it does seem like, given the current situation,
I think where
maybe
Ruslan was
not.
going is the better route, right? I think that is the better route. Figuring out that, I mean, if we do affiliate marketing, it just has to be done at the contract level for Decentraland. That's what it is, because that's where the purchasing happens.
So I think the what you're talking about is a timing issue. If indeed the contract in between tries to make the purchase, but then the wearable is just not there anymore, then it just has to cancel and return the money to the purchase. It's just really not.
That's a slapstick approach, in my opinion.
I do not believe that. I do not believe that. No, it is
Well,
like it is the way things happen. Like we have a secondary way of making a purchase. I mean, it's I think the same thing. Even now, you click, you try to purchase, and then if someone else already purchased the last one before you, it's too late. I think it's really only the same nature of the objection. That
no, it's not, because you're not.
I feel like the audience for this conversation is like 5 people. So while it's a very interesting technical conversation, I feel like in general it is way above most of our heads, and we are not. The average audience member is not going to be able to appreciate the nuance to even pick a side in your.
It's not picking a side. No, it's just very simple. Affiliate marketing is, hey, I'm going to go promote your stuff, and you pay me a percentage. That's affiliate marketing. We can agree on that. Now take that affiliate as an individual standing in front of a storefront, okay? And they're, hey, come over here, and you get all the sales for all the come over here people, right?
Yeah.
Well, Decentraland, the way you would have to go is you have to talk to that person. They have to sell you the item. The person has to then turn around, go in the store, buy the item, and come back out and give it to you. That is not affiliate marketing, as it's technically set up. That's my point. Is doing it in the current environment is just not worth the time. That's my point.
Also,
I really have to interject, because that's just not the way that I'm seeing it would need to be done. You can't really put words in my mouth this way. I'm sorry. There is a way I can see that it could be done. We can talk about it in detail, but I mean, it's not the place.
One thing I could see with any kind of like, I like the idea where I could go and get some passive income from people buying stuff, and then I get a little bit of the kickback. But if you go back to like December of 2021, and the amount of like hawkers that you saw at Wonder Zone, like, come to my Twitch, come sign in here. Like, oh my gosh. Like, if people suddenly were starting to make money from like getting you to buy a wearable, I could see that making a really kind of, I don't know, icky, like,
right. Okay. That's
trying to like vendor hawk, like, come buy this wearable. And like, it was, yeah, I mean, it was annoying. You'd have people come to parties then, and like, come, we're streaming this live, blah blah blah, and like, so I like the idea,
Well,
but I don't know how to keep people from just being annoying as fuck with like that kind of like shilling, because it already still happens.
Well, that's
Still my
they
event.
do it on Twitter. Ideally,
Yeah, let's just keep it all. We'll just keep it all on Twitter. That'll work so well because we have
keep
such good censoring mechanisms in world.
I mean, I think
Well, it's very easy to mute someone in chat.
I think ultimately it's a good idea, and it would take a lot of time to implement, maybe time that right now at least is not worth the effort, but it's certainly something that if someone is motivated to do it and go for it in a third party way and come up with the reasonable way to do it that's actually effective and works, then there's no reason that someone shouldn't try it. But that's obviously something I wouldn't want to try, and sounds like Lastrom wouldn't want to try, but there are people out there willing to go for it.
Well, look at like, what do we always think when we hear Brandon? Like, we hear Brandon 10, Wisher Vodka, right? Like, why couldn't it be a promo code that you could, insert as you're buying it? Like, do you have a promo code? Yep.
Because
I do.
there
No.
is no way. There's no way to do that. That's my point. Brandon isn't selling you the Wisher vodka. Wisher vodka is selling you the Wisher vodka. That's my whole point. Is technically, it just can't happen right now. You would have to change the Wisher vodka way of selling things, because Brandon doesn't have. Again, it's the person in front of the storefront. Brandon is standing in front of Wisher vodka saying, "Come in and buy some." The way the wearable contracts are now is you interact with the storefront to purchase something. So to have, like, it just would take a lot of time to then have the affiliate have the inventory to then sell to the person, because if you don't, then the time the person attracts you, turns around, has to go buy the item, it's just technically it's too difficult.
So what about something that works as an oracle that sees the actual purchase has occurred, and maybe there's some conditions that can be seen like it has occurred within a certain time frame or something like this, and then as this can work as an oracle, and then the contract can deliver the affiliate percentage with
There's no
oracle
purchase
dynamics.
but me purchasing Brandon or Canessa's emote, there's no way to know that you, Proteus, sent me to the marketplace to buy it. There's no way. You just know that
I know, but maybe there's like a way with timing, like if it happened within a certain time frame.
Matter. Time doesn't determine how I got there.
Could there be some kind of like subs contract that occurs after? Like, I'm thinking, like, why can't we even hold sales in our shop? I should be able to be like, hey, I'm gonna celebrate Decentraland's birthday with 20% off all my emotes. And like, I just don't even know enough about smart contracts to know that could happen. But maybe it's something that gets initiated after their purchase. So
that's a great
after
idea.
the purchase goes through, this triggers like, hey, this person put in the promo code, therefore, Brandon gets 10% or something. Like, so maybe it's like a contract built upon the contract.
Proteus loves Canny. I think we submit a Canny request to update the marketplace contract to allow.
I don't love Canny. I'm just saying that's where they listen to.
I mean, yeah, Canessa, it's a great idea. Angzar allows you to sell items in world as well. So that's another fun thing. But it's using the marketplace contract. So we're limited to what we can do. Unfortunately, you can't do blanket 20% off. You can't do blanket fire sales of everything in your, like, if you have right now, even on the marketplace website, you can't say, I've got 800 wearables, I want them all to go for 5 mana. You can't do that. That's awesome, but you can't do it, right? It's unfortunate. It's every one of those items would be a transaction on the blockchain to initiate the sale order. So everything has to be done with the wearable contracts. So anything outside of that at this point is not worth it, because in the end, you still have to go to the store of the wearable contract to get the inventory. And right now, there's no way to assign a purchase to any type of external code or discount or referral system, because that's just not how the store is built.
So what I'm hearing is that in part of like the benefit of having a smart contract, part of the drawback is just rigidity in what you can do. Because I sell on other places like Etsy and Teachers Pay Teachers. Like, I can put my whole shop on sale And actually, they have these events. Jared, can you mute yourself? I love your ASMR keyboard, but not when I'm talking. Um, so on these other sites, like there'll be a site-wide sale, and you can opt into it. So it would be such an event for Decentraland if it was like, hey, Fashion Week is here. We're gonna have an online sale. Like, put your whole shop on 20%, because then you go in, you know that everybody, like, my sales on those days are just skyrocketed. And I don't mind like taking 20% off because I'm making a bunch of sales. So yeah, I guess I'm always
I
like
love
looking
that.
for
I
things
mean,
like
look
the
at
way
Drofo
that
though.
So
Look at
right.
Drofo. You know, Rusan mentioned Drofo. You know,
Drofo doesn't exist anymore.
exactly. They were a third-party marketplace, and they don't exist anymore. So, like, instead of trying to always create a new wheel, let's just make the Decentraland wheel better by,
Yeah.
suggesting candies for referral codes for blanket percentage off discounts on sale things. Like, those are the things where that's the focus. Let the foundation see that there's a consensus around, hey, I want to have a fire sale and offer 10% off. Allow that to happen through the Decentraland marketplace, because we can, as an example, see other third party systems are just, they're not there. They're dead. They're gone.
And they disappear. I mean, this is like you can't be saying we want to be doing Web3 and everything, and then talk about and getting third parties involved. And if this, you can't say it's going to take too much time, too much effort, and all that, because this is really the core of the core strength of Decentraland. Is the fact that it has Web3 behind it. I'm not sure Roblox or Nifty or all that really have that much flexibility, in a sense. Like Knesset says rigidity, but if you actually have the Web3 engineers to continue doing this smart contract work, then it's
I'm saying a third party can't do it. That's all I'm
kind
saying.
of being fulfilling a purpose, in a sense.
I'm not trying to convert you. All I'm saying is I would rather have focus, the foundation fix and update and improve their contracts, because at the
So
end of the day,
that I agree.
that's the last thing. That's the only place to get wearables is from the smart contract. So you
So
have to update that one.
right. So that's a possibility. So I agree. Like, it's not really the priority right now. Like there's like getting the experience working almost flawlessly for everybody, so that people actually stay, so that the crowd, the user count was actually increased. The daily user count would actually increase. I mean, I'm fairly sure this is the only issue, really. Like people come, it doesn't work, they don't come back. That's I'm sure. Yeah, that's really one of the highest priority. But um, once that's all smoothly going, then really the main focus is actually doing Web3 again. I think this is the main thing that's been lost in the vision.
Well, I just want to ask Vanessa a quick question. As her newest emote owner, this pink drink mythic, I see that it has no sales history. How did people acquire this pink drink, Vanessa? Not to just divert the conversation from something that we were all just talking about, but I think we all kind of gotten into a bit of a circle and have resolved and found a good solution there. So we can just talk about pink drink real quick. How did people get that? Because it is killing me to know. That's why I keep unmuting my mic to try to divert this conversation.
Well, I think like a lot of times we look at wearables and emotes as if they're like the only way that we can have them is to buy and sell them. And that was a gift I just made for people who made a difference in my life in the past year. So I know some people were, sad that they couldn't buy it. And not all emotes and not all wearables are made as a commodity that can be bought and sold. So the people that I gave that to, they helped me in one way or another. Yeah, and it was
Okay, I kind of figured that was the answer, but I was just curious, and I'm actually just amazed you managed to boil it down to a list of like 8 or 9 people, because I was trying to do that with my own mythic glasses, when I just put back on sale, because I could not get a list of 8 people that were that sweet. But okay, I just wanted to know definitively the answer was these people were kind to me, so they got the hookup, which is a very legit and valid way to do things. It's such a sweet emote. So I remember seeing, I'm like, wait, Kanessa made that. Wait, it's a mythic. How did I not know? But okay, thank you that makes sense. But yeah, I respect that going about it. I just couldn't do it because I was like every time I made a list of like okay, I like cut it down like well, I gotta get one for Zesty because he's been begging me for a pair. I gotta have one for this person because they like literally gave me work. And like it would just always be like a list of 12 people or like more. I was like, I can't cut any of these people, and there are only 8 of this thing. So props to you for having the ability, the fortitude to go like, no, this person's a G, and I got to do it. And I'm sorry, Sinful, no pink drink for you, kind of a thing. That I picked Sinful since I figured he wouldn't be, he wouldn't be sad.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could have put it on the market and made a bunch of money, but that's just not what I was going to do with this. Some of those people have been through a lot this year, and I just wanted to do something to give back.
Oh yeah, I mean, hell yeah. There's not one person. I mean, there's people on that list that I don't get along with necessarily. I have my issues, as I'm sure you're aware. But there's not one person on that list that I see and go, "All right, how did Knessa pick them?" I get all of them. I'm like, I get it.
Well, I try to pick
I
try to pick my friends based on who you'll approve of. So I find it best just to keep you happy, and I'm a people pleaser.
That's not what I was saying. I was gonna say there wasn't any person on that list that I could argue with, but I was like, well, we both know that's not true. There's at least one person on that list I could argue about. But I get why you picked that person, and obviously I'm not trying. That's not how I meant to phrase. What I meant when I was trying to clarify myself. I just didn't want to be a state of falsehood. But because I try to be as factually honest as possible. But I get like there's not one person on that list that I think anyone could look at and go like, what? Knessa picked them over me? Because especially if like having a rough year was one of them. There's like fucking poor Sirius. I don't know Sirius. I don't know Cirrus. Yeah, like that poor woman has had what could only possibly be described as like the worst 2023, and that's coming from someone who's well aware of just how awful some people's 2023s were, and then like the rest of that list is all just some of the nicest most helpful people in yours and others' lives. So I get it.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's do Ruston, and then let's go to Psychotic. No matter what topic comes up, because we Psychotic's been so patient. Go ahead, Ruston.
Yeah, on the topic of pushing Decentraland a little bit further through community efforts, I just wanted to bring up the in-world builder, and I really want to challenge everyone who owns a name to go mess with the in-world builder. I spent like a good 4 hours yesterday on my Rustan DCL name, building for hopefully the Art Week. Art Week is going to give a parcel to in-world builder, which will allow you to click on the parcel and click on some NPCs that'll show you some more art worlds to check out. And as of this morning, worlds wasn't working for me. I couldn't get any worlds to work, but hopefully it's working now. But like, it really is right now the easiest way to build in Decentraland. And I spent about 4 hours yesterday working on my build. I'm finding the way that I like to build, finding bugs here and there, listing them down, passing it on to Lastrum, fixing it up, and every week it just gets better and better. And so right now, in-world builder exists on the world's explore page. So if you're not sure how to get there or how to find it, all you have to do is click X and then click on worlds and then look for the build your world thumbnail, and you click on that, and then you easily just start to set up your own build. And like I really want like everyone to just like go mess around. You don't have to have like a perfect idea. Just go mess around, explore it. If you find bugs, let Last Slice know, let Lastrum know, and that'll like building that is really like when new users come in, ideally the goal is so they'll find that build your world button, ideally buy a name after experiencing it, become a part of the culture, and start building cool shit that we've never seen before.
So
could you read me the link of where to go build Leaf?
Yeah, Jared, go build on Leaf, goddammit.
Yeah, just re-DM me that link I need. I'll go do it right now.
Well, you could just click into in-world builder, and then in explore, in the explore tab in the in-world builder, you just look for Leaf and you just jump right there. But I'm actually in my car, but I'll send you the link too when I get back home later tonight.
Rustan, yeah, I mean, since you're pushing the community effort, I would contact Make. Yesterday when we were in voice chat, he was mentioning wanting to build in his world, but also not having the technology to build in his world. So
Yeah,
yeah,
let me explain it a little bit how it works and what's beautiful about it. And it's still in the building stages. It's not finished in any regard, but basically you can hop in there, you create your world through the in-world builder. It attaches to your name, and you're able to build using assets in-world with no coding or any of that jazz. So it's easy; anybody can do it. And then it exists, and it exists in a giant world space. You can create as many parcels as you want. You can create a whole city if you'd like. But it also takes note of if you wanted to import it into a Genesis City parcel, it takes note of the limitations, and it tells you when you exceed the limitations. And so, like, if you build something cool in there just messing around, you can now take that and download it and then upload it into your parcel or into your actual own world. Because what happens is there's like two servers. There's the inward build server and then there's the Decentraland server. So you can have two builds in two different in your name in two different ways. So you could have like the DCL world build and the in-world builder, and they can coexist. But the cool thing is you can just mess around, and if you build something that's beautiful that you love, you download it, you can upload it right to the Web 2 builder of DCL to get it, live in Genesis City.
So how about we
Nice.
do this? Like by next week, Jared has to have built something on Leaf. Because Jared, you got to. Rustan and I are gonna bug you if you don't.
Yeah, we want
I
you
put
to
like
real bad,
there are
Jared.
some trees. There are some trees in a sweet apartment that I custom made myself. I did. No, yeah.
Yeah, Jared, I would,
Uh,
and this is to anybody, sign up. I think we're going to post a tweet about it, but essentially, if you missed out on Art Week and you want to be a part of Art Week, we have a one by one inside Art Week, and we is the in-world builder. So you can go to the in-world builder and it's free. You get your own world server attached to your name. And what we're going to do is on that one by one, have the NPC of yourself. And when you click on it, it'll immediately teleport you to your in-world builder world. So anybody listening, like Rustan said, go build an in-world builder. You can upload your own assets too, like Rustan did for Jared. Jared, you can upload your own assets too. I mean, this is all no coding. Like you don't have to do anything. If you find something on Sketchfab or you do model or you use one of the 3,500, I think, assets we have in the catalog, which include all of the other builder assets plus new ones we've created, you can drag and drop them into any scene size in your world. And so the Art Week Plaza will teleport immediately to that. So anyone can essentially be a part of Art Week.
I think that's awesome, and I think that so I'm gonna try to do that this week. I don't know, maybe even if we got group build sessions going on, that might make it easier. I'm just thinking, Jared, like if you haven't had as much build experience and then you're getting into something new, that's like two ticks against you. Like that's gonna be kind of a challenge. And so, to make it easier, just doing it as a group might be helpful. Like at least for me. That would help me. And I think that if we want new users to build, like it's just gotta be so simple. It's gotta be easy because not everybody is coming in with like the skill set that they can create something. They might be artists. I'm thinking like visual artists who have like paintings on the wall. They might be artistic, but that doesn't translate necessarily to like building in a 3D world. And we've kind of seen the complications with even the simple builder in the the STK7 has limitations. And so I think the more that we probably all of us could learn about different ways to help new users, it's going to help so that then when somebody has a question, we can be like, oh yeah, like boom, 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 this is how you do it. So got to make that happen. And the fact that we can do that for Art Week is pretty awesome.
Speaking of group building, last week finished the first in-world builder contest, and the winners were NFT Bubblegum, Yankee, and Derek, and they each won mana prizes, which was really cool. And there was a nice little turnout. There was probably like 18 people that tried, and but I would love to see so much more. To me, it's like I participated, but only as a model, and like if I wasn't part of the team, I would definitely have just fafoed in there to see what would happen and hopefully win some mana, you know. But so there's another contest coming up. Lastrom could probably talk about the details more than I can, but that one is specifically a group competition where you're supposed to partner with I think one or more people to create a build, and then that will be voted on by the community.
Yeah, I'll talk about that after Psychotic because I know they've been waiting for like 30 minutes.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you? How are things?
What up? What up? As you can see, we're still
Hey.
passionate as always. We're still up here, shaking our fists and and
Oh man,
discussing very, very deep topics.
yeah, no, it's cool, man. To be honest, I just kind of came in to listen in, and I was actually coding myself, so it was like I was just kind of just listening to radio, basically, right? And hearing y'all, so I'm listening. And I mean, the main thing for me, Decentraland, I like the whole entire project. I knew that I was interested in it, and I just never found myself like getting there, right? Like I took the steps. I worked with Brandon, and I put an item inside of Decentraland, and I visited inside of there, right? There was some weird stuff in that plaza, but we're not gonna go too much into that. But I've created a name for Psychotic Society. We have a world, right? And I have yet to build in there, and I want to build in there. And I saw the asset packs, and it's really cool. And the one factor that kept coming up for me personally, I'm not saying that this is going to be for everyone, because I think it's kind of case by case basis on your lifestyle. Was the kind of like the PC factor, like mobile gaming has been so. Basically, my work schedule is crazy. Like I said, when I'm not coding, I'm at my regular, 40 plus hours, sometimes 50 or even 60 hours. Like I work so much overtime from like July all the way through the holidays. I was working like 50, 60 hours a week every single week. It was nuts. And so, I got to kind of squeeze things in, right? And so what I would like to see for Decentraland, and I think as an onboarding tool, just for scaling and onboarding, try to help kind of that. It'd be nice if you guys made like a separate application, because I know you are not in the App Store, but like a separate application for you guys, right? To you guys who are here day in, day out, keeping the community together, building it, and doing all of this that a lot of people don't see, right? Mainstream America really doesn't see it, but to kind of onboard from the App Store and get those users in, you can get some of that market share, right? You put out an app, let's say, that features NFTs for Decentraland and styles, and you kind of let people at least interact with the styles and the characters, almost like you could place clothing on the characters, right? Or the gear. And so in reality, they could be interacting with a Kinessa character, right? Or a Brandon character or a Rustan character in an app. So this way you could make a lighter quick little deployment that doesn't take a whole lot to get out there. But in reality, the main goal there is to get them interacting with the contracts and with Decentraland, and then hopefully migrate them over into the platform. I don't know if that's something that's useful, but I think that would at least get some additional eyes into Decentraland. And but this wasn't just with you guys. I had this happen with almost everything that was on PC. And so I think that happens more than what people think. Like that, like, so when I'm on my phone, I'm playing all these other little games, right? As like in between of like idle time, but I have no way to, now I did upgrade my laptop because I exceeded the memory on the one. It was too small. So now I got like I think a 500, or I think I got a terabyte now. So I might now try to get back on there and maybe have some options. But that's what's been holding me up, and it kind of bites because I really wanted, for me, like personally, like I really wanted to be hanging out with you guys and interacting with you guys more. And I felt like, damn, man, I kind of missed an opportunity. You know what I mean? But just to know, I never forgot about you guys and everything. So I just wanted to come in and speak on that, and that was it, really.
Are you an iPhone or an Android user?
Android.
There is a new like mobile Android application. I'm not properly equipped to sell it to you because I don't know where you'd even go to find it because I have an iPhone. So I was just sad that I couldn't check it out. But there is the ability to use Decentraland on mobile on Android with this DAO funded project for mobile. So I don't know if anyone here actually, Blaster might know more about it. I'm not sure. I know it's not his project or anything,
Yeah, I
but
tried it out. It's good though. It's not fully ready yet though.
but it supposedly it's pretty sweet.
So how are they doing that? How are they interfacing that?
There's it's called the Godot client. It's like a whole. I'm the least technically knowledgeable person to be trying to explain it, but they're using this Godot like open source technology programming language. I'm not exactly sure to like build this client. The DAO's funded it, but it works. It's super cool. There's some limitations. Like I don't think you're going to see everybody's emotes and everything, but like you can go to you can go to the parties. You can definitely interact
Oh,
with people.
It works already?
And it's still
oh,
like
now
super
we're
early.
talking. Okay. You know what? This technology sounds familiar. I think they got part of this concept from Sony. So, for instance, on their place, I think they started it in PS4. I don't think PS3 had it, but basically, if you had a PSP, right, PlayStation Portable, which obviously didn't have all your games because some of them were your PS4 exclusives, they had like a Sony Online, and so basically it allows you to like remotely access the actual software, right? And so in reality you're kind of like playing through. So I think I see what you're saying. I believe that this is probably how it's being done, which is kind of a really good solution, because I played that way. And if this is the case, then yeah, I definitely need to get my hands on that, because this could be really a game changer, for you guys, and also like even for me, because like you said, even if you can't build on it, so but I'm definitely gonna build, and I want to build, and that's definitely like on a one of the higher priorities. So, um, I have this whole entire comic book collection that I'm going to be selling soon. I've collected it for over 20 years, And so the main thing was like when I sell it, it was like, how am I going to collect payment? Do I get people's credit cards? Do I get, right? And so it would be like, even if I have some of my books, I might put them up for sale, and where I would accept Decentraland tokens for payment. For example, like, these are some of the things I'd like to see where you have IRL use cases, and kind of now you're honoring that crypto, right? So that'd be kind of a nice way for Decentraland if they had a way. I do have a few um, books that I'd be looking to sell at some point, but like in a market, so it's like they buy the NFT, but then you really ship them the comic, right? So they're really kind of buying the comic of that. So I think in the future, in the near future, obviously, we're going to see that kind of cross between IRL. So like Canessa and you, all of you guys, Sinful, like if you guys do artwork or clothing at some point, when they buy that wearable, for instance, let's say it is a little toy that they have in Decentraland. If they buy the NFT, obviously it's going to cost more, right? But they buy that NFT in particular, they actually would then fill in their shipping information and then get the IRL actual item shipped to them. So that's one of the things that I want to see as well.
I'd like to interject on that, if possible.
Sure.
How many people have read the post I put on Discord? I post like several paragraphs regarding well, what I think misconception is going on about Web3. I really haven't seen much response to it. I'm not sure anyone is going to know what I'm going to want to build upon now.
Well, yeah, I am in the Discord, but like most of this, like I don't get Discord notifications because at one point not from you guys, I was getting a lot of like at the time our Discord was really busy and it was like my phone was pinging like, so I kept it off so I don't see anything, but I am in your Discord for Decentraland, yeah.
I put it in a general channel, and actually this is a question to everybody here. A quick poll: how many people know what I'm talking about here? Really, no one? Wow.
I got distracted in Wondermine. I'm sorry.
So I actually wrote a fairly involved spiel about my view on this point in the Discord general chat. And I'm really interested in people actually giving feedback on this because I think it's actually a fairly important issue regarding the misconception that's going on about the fact that what Web3 means and how you think you're doing Web3 when you're not really actually doing Web3, and so how you think you still have this edge against competition that's coming up when you're not actually using the same tools anymore, and so you don't have the same edge if you're not doing Web3, that kind of stuff. So I'd really be interested in getting feedback on this comment. So if people could go on the Discord and general chat and see and read and all that, that'd be much appreciated. So my response is that when people buy this NFT from you, and they usually talking about them filling out all their information, all that. It's really they could just fill out their information and send. I mean, it's a standard transaction. The thing at that point, the NFT is nothing more than an autograph, really.
Well, no, the NFT.
Well, let me finish, please, because you at that point are bound to send them the artwork. But it's not because I mean, Web3 means get the NFT, you get the artwork, period. If they're buying the NFT and then you manually like verify their information, and then you send them the artwork, that's not Web3. That's something you can just do without I mean, with technology that already exists. And so
exactly.
This is why you got to realize that right now what you're doing with NFTs is selling autographs. Ultimately, this is really what it is. It's valuable in autograph for sure, and this is why it's not a bad thing to do. But you have to understand this is what you're doing.
Well,
this is what I'm trying to get at.
It's a digital ledger, so it's going to save the transaction. It's not just the autograph because the details of the transaction and the amount of the transaction and all of that data is there. It's not just the one thing.
Yeah, but that's the same as before. Like when you buy something, when you buy the disk that has the software and you put it on a computer, technically you're the one who owns the disk, but anybody who makes a copy of the software afterwards also owns pretty much the software. So no, it's not a certificate of ownership. It's like a nice idea, but until there's something like DRMs, encryption behind it, it's really not a certificate of ownership. It's not. It's detached from the item that you're sending afterwards.
Well, I mean, collectibles come with certificates of authenticity, so just because you can like get the print out a copy of it, that doesn't there's I would argue I don't know, I think that it's a distinction that isn't necessarily as
So yeah, I could
like
be wrong in the large sense, but
cumbersome as you're
it's really
making
what I
it.
think.
Just because like in general, like like in the Magic the Gathering community, like there are proxy cards that are worthless, while like there are still Black Lotuses that will sell for six figures. So like I think that there is like obviously it depends on the like what you're buying in general, but like there is, I think, absolute merit to the premise, and that it is. And I think that like gatekeeping what is Web3 is that it can only possibly be used if it's an on-chain, like fully automated thing, is not necessarily going to be the best way to like onboard the masses per se. I understand why like it can be important from like a programmer's like engineering mind as to be technically and accurately correct to the original definition, but I don't necessarily think it's the best way to like onboard more people into the space by being so rigid to the definition, since often like like words are inherently fluid, which like literally no longer means literally, it can also mean figuratively. So like in the world we like, so with the fact that that is the reality of the world we live in, I think that being overly attached to how the definition of anything is not necessarily going to be doing a service to the space per se.
Right.
But I
I
understand your
agree.
frustration when you get hired to be a Web3 programmer, and then what they're actually asking you to do is like SDK work, like you were talking about last week. That can probably be quite frustrating.
Right. So I agree. The ultimately, uh, the, the words will always have what's the opposite of formal? Public meaning, and a meaning which the general public will attach to it and everything, and that just can't be ignored. But when talking formally internally about strategies and everything, I think it's pretty important to actually stick with what is actually meant by Web3. And Web3 is something which can get an edge versus competition, and so it really has to be understood properly when actually talked about formally, I think.
Well, it's also part of the fact that it's a payment system. So part of the issue here that's make
It's not. It's
it is
blockchain execution. It's not a payment system. It's not whatever. It's blockchain execution. Blockchain originally simply was about data, and that's how Bitcoin worked. And then Vitalik and Vitalik's team figured out, oh, well, we could actually do instructions. And this is what Web3 is. It's instructions running on the blockchain. With that, you can do payment system. With that, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. You can enter planetary file system and everything. That's what Web3 is all about.
Thank you. And I'm gonna let Psychotic finish his thought, and then I would like to pass it to Lastrom. He's had his hand up for a little bit.
Sure. So basically, if you make a website or if you do anything out here, when I was coming up, many years, one of the things that I've seen in my life a lot are roadblocks. I've seen a lot of people tell me what I couldn't do, how I couldn't do it, why I couldn't, achieve this or that. And I've spent my life just doing it and proving it and getting to where I was getting. So, like for instance, if I want to conduct business on chain in a particular way and have it all autonomously and operate in async function, right? And also it be trustless and have split payment contracts where I don't have to worry about this person getting paid. It goes to their wallet. I can have 4 or 5 people all getting paid simultaneously. Yes, we get its code, but the real reality here, it's still a decentralized way we're transacting. The goal is to try to level the playing field for the average person, the non-millionaires, the blue collar people who are really trying to gain their own way and find their own lane and space and compete with big, massive monopolies. So Decentraland, the heart of that is decentralized finance, and so a lot of what's driving this regardless is the hopes and the dreams that people have an opportunity to create a life. And I will tell you what, I didn't go to college for coding. I'm self-taught. I started reverse engineering my first site that was built for me from a friend who built it. And I started studying that HTML and that CSS, and I worked my way into Java and TypeScript. And I've come a long way a year and a half later with coding, and I have a lot of respect for it. I code in Solidity as well. But again, there's a lot of languages, and you're not going to be good at them all. And there's a lot of work to it, no doubt about that. But I'm a career electrician. I don't eat out here in this environment like some people might. I have a pension lining up. I've been 20 years as an electrician, blue collar, but at the same time, I'm not going to limit myself to doubt, fear. I don't subscribe to that. And I really love creating websites and creating UIs and making them look cool and having people interact with them. And we have a great little ecosystem, and I'd like to see where this really all goes. And if it doesn't really equate to anything, so be it. But that will never stop me from trying. At the end of the day. But I respect your position being in what you do greatly. You know what I'm saying? And I and every once I started learning coding, I was like, yeah, this is a lot of work. So I do respect coders very much. And so you guys have laid the framework for where we're at today. So my hat's off to you guys, man.
Thank you, Psychotic. Lastrom, take it away.
Yeah, no, I think Psychotic has some good points just in general, but I'm not in the CBD Discord, so I don't know what you said, Proteus, but I just not integrating affiliate marketing does not mean you're not Web3. Web3, you have a different sense of what that means. And I lean towards more what Psychotic said for Web3. Web3 is reducing barriers, in my opinion, reducing barriers for anybody to be able to create and engage, right? And I think we said it internally on a call, is it's the consumer to creator. No longer is it B2B or B2C. Web3 allows you to, it's C squared to C squared. I think Oddjob said that. Consumer creator to consumer creator. That's what's so amazing about blockchain technology in Web3. Those are the barriers breaking down. Saying in a technical sense that we can't integrate affiliate marketing because of a third party system doesn't mean that we're going against the ethos of Web3. It just means technically that's not possible without some centralized intervention on a wearable contract. And so, you mentioned, again, let's get terminology right. You're not buying an autograph when you buy an NFT. You're actually standing in a line, which is your token ID. And when you buy an NFT, you are writing your name down on that line item in a big journal for token ID 1000. That's what you do. You write in your contract. That's what you do. You write in your name. Your wallet address goes in the slot for 1000. And when you sell that, we erase your name or your Ethereum address and write in somebody else's. So what you actually own as an NFT is just a position in a line. You own a number. Now, what is attached to that number is the metadata, how you allow token gating based on the ownership of that single digit, that number. That is what Web3 is built on. So you're not buying autographs, you're literally buying a number from somebody else in line. That's all you're doing. And going off of that, it is rigid. Smart contracts are rigid. You can't change them once you update them. You can have proxy contracts, which have greatly allowed you to modify things, but it's still a new contract. So there is a rigidity to Web3, which doesn't mean that it's not Web3. That doesn't go against the ethos of Web3. So I just wanted to be very clear on the terminology about buying NFTs and what that actually is and what that actually gets you and what Web3 is. And what we're trying to do is lower the barriers for creators who are consumers to also become the consumers and the creators on the other end. So it's C squared to C squared, in my opinion, of Web3. And how do we do that in a virtual space with Decentraland?
For what's worth, I think he meant receipts more than autographs, which I think, to be fair, in your definition as like the line item is it's a similar like.
Right.
The point is that like you're not necessarily getting like when you buy an NFT like that image is often stored on an AWS server or it's not necessarily like unlike with Ordendales, which actually are on the blockchain, like you're not. I think that may be what he meant. Though I generally do more align with what you, Lastrom, and Psychotic are saying more. And I actually just went to Ethereum.org. I googled like define Web3, and I don't know who owns Ethereum.org, but their definitions are like Web3 is decentralized, Web3 is permissionless, Web3 is native payments, like using the cryptocurrencies, and they also make a big point about it, like owning your assets. So I think that like it's not necessarily strictly, it doesn't have to just be on the blockchain, but I do think there's probably kind of like a nice middle ground where we move towards more things like, because I think an HP might like would argue that we're still trying to build because like the DAO, the reason the DAO committee exists for the Decentraland DAO to bring it into Decentraland is because the technology to make everything permissionless and trustless doesn't exist, and we do need these gatekeepers to like see what was voted on and then implement it. So like I do think the goal is to kind of move more towards a world where everything can be on the blockchain and for many areas of it. But I do think that like being so rigid about it having to be on the blockchain makes it not Web3 is I think kind of not necessarily respecting the full ethos of like Web3 ownership, because I'm sure most of everyone here has to be familiar with the origin story of like what even made of Vitalik being upset that Blizzard like nerfed his World of Warcraft character and like wanting to create like a world where like he's like where they can't take his digital assets and devalue them on him, kind of a thing. But I don't know if that's true or not, but I've always just loved the idea of just some teenager being so mad they made his Hunter and World of Warcraft weaker that he just reinvented like the internet and came up with the like how to make Ethereum do what it does. So
but it's just a misnomer that your wallet, it's interesting from a technical perspective, like your wallet isn't anything. All your wallet is an aggregation of all of those line items across all the journals. So think of every NFT as a book, and it has pages 1 to 10,000 with line items. And your wallet address gets added to each one of these books every time you purchase that token ID. Your wallet, MetaMask, like your address doesn't own anything. There's nothing like that you own per se. It's all in these other books as records that your wallet is tied to this item. And once you understand that, it's a different concept of ownership and what you can achieve with that. So yes, we own things, but you don't have like a bag, like a wallet that you can go to. All of these sites, they aggregate where all of your wallet addresses are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's a super interesting topic for like the way language like makes you kind of envision how one thing works and like how they're not. Because like I was talking in like the Essential Games Discord about bridges from like a bridge from layer like Ethereum to Polygon isn't like like it makes you imagine like that token no longer exists on Ethereum, but the way the blockchain actually works is like I still don't understand, but it's not really a bridge because like your token is still kind of on Ethereum, even though it is now also represented on Polygon. And like, yeah, no, but the way we use language to try to create like, you know, understandable things doesn't necessarily actually paint the accurate picture of how the technology works.
Oh, the human
Which I hadn't
condition.
necessarily appreciated. I hadn't necessarily appreciated the nuance you just pointed out, that like your wallet is just kind of keeping track
Yeah.
of where the thing you own is located. It isn't actually like your Bitcoin isn't in your wallet. Your Bitcoin is where the Bitcoin has always been.
It's a
Oh, it's kind of
public
like those
ledger.
giant rocks they used to
It's
use
like
for
a safety deposit
currencies,
box,
and
you
like
know?
you would just, oh, that's
It's
so
like it's
weird.
like yeah,
Because
yeah.
like,
You don't have like a
oh,
backpack that you can open up and like reach in and grab your wearables from. It's just an aggregation across all of those different wearable stores. Like, hey, Jared, you own this item token ID. That like, so it's weird.
that just happens to be sitting over here. That's so weird because, oh man, that's so interesting. Because there was an ancient civilization that used to use giant block like stone tablets, like way too big for any person to bring around, but like that was their currency. And then like you as a person would just own a percentage of that giant stone tablet. And like, there's even an instance where like one like was lost at sea, but they like just still like kept it counting because like whatever, that rock's still down there. And like so like it's such a fascinating concept that it's really kind of like we've gone back 1,000 years to where we all just own a piece of the giant stone tablet but we just have in our little like ledger, like, yeah, you own part of that giant stone tablet, that's yours. Like, yeah, the stone tablet, like, yeah, it's over there and it's in the cloud. I still don't even actually understand where it is. I guess it's not like it's because I don't understand how decentralized networks actually work. I can't visualize it in the way that I could possibly articulate it to someone.
But you know, but
yeah, so
if
interesting.
we want to onboard, you know, the masses as we talk, like as if we want to bring what we're calling Web3 to mainstream, like we have to put it in ways
That's how to
that
put it.
people can understand it. Like if I want to onboard my mom, like Lastrum, you're a developer. Proteus, you're a developer, whether you say it or not. Like you're extremely
Oh, I am.
Okay, so yeah, you are. Like you guys are the smart ones, and so of course you're gonna like be talking about the finer nuances of this stuff. But my mom, like she was a paraeducator at an elementary school. If I want to onboard my mom, I've got to just tell her, like, this is your wallet, mom. This is your stuff is in your wallet, and you can pay for stuff. Like it has to be. I mean, I'm not saying dumbed down, but there are reasons why people either don't come to, you know, cryptocurrency, blockchain, Web3, or they come to it and they're like, huh? Like, I don't understand it. You're like mining a coin. Like, it doesn't
Exactly.
make sense. So, like, we are unintentionally gatekeeping when we get so technical. Like, we
And
have
gatekeeping
to
yourselves,
always,
gatekeeping yourselves too.
yeah, and we have to remember to use language that people can understand, and it's not saying like generalization. And you know, and I could go deep into, like, you know, as an educator, how we scaffold people so that they can understand higher concepts, but you can't just jump high. You have to like start slow. And I feel like there's a big amount of the population that they'll never fully grasp the blockchain, but they hopefully will in time use it. But we have to make sure that we're not like so rigid in what we're saying that we, you know, are like excluding them, because they're just going to be like, whatever, I'm done. Like, I just want to spell my Roblox. Like, I get it. I can go to these other games and just do it easy. Like that blockchain stuff, that Web3 gaming, and it gets more complicated. So I think, you know, one thing we've talked about more and more is like not even mentioning, you know, like blockchain or Web3, just using terms that the general population would understand, like your in-game coin and such like that. I think that to get regular,
yeah, that's why I always
mom and
think
pop
boiling it
people,
down to digital ownership is so important.
Um,
Just like you own your assets. That is Web3 to me.
Right, but when we're talking about like feature upgrades, you know, and we get into a technical conversation, I'm just saying it's technically a waste of time. And I'm very good, I would say, at being able to talk in a higher level sense with things, and that's definitely what needs to happen. People don't need to know that you actually don't own anything but a number or your name on a wall, on a ledger somewhere. Like, I get it, and you want to know what a wallet is, and you want to have the feeling of reaching in your wallet and grabbing all of your assets. Totally fine, totally fine. But pushing back on the feasibility and easeability of doing something like affiliate marketing in its current sense, you have to have a technical awareness and approach it. That's just not feasible. And to approach it from a sense of what you brought up, Kanessa, which you're not technical, is maybe we lean on the foundation to implement like something that came out of the conversation of store-wide sales. I mean, I don't know why that is not in there. There's not a lot of flexibility in what the foundation has created for us to use in this wearable contract. So, if you were talking to a layman, they come to the marketplace, they can't do what you just said. And so having technical people come up with those ideas has to happen on a lower level of conversation. But that doesn't mean that if it doesn't work out technically that it's against Web3 or something. That's just the feeling I was getting about against what I was talking about. Is it just doesn't make sense. We can't do it with the approach that was presented. So let's try something different. And that is truly the essence of Web3, in my opinion, where there are no barriers. We can submit things and do this. This isn't like Facebook or Microsoft. You can create your own code. You can create your own wearables and have a whole run of t-shirts, and you don't have to have a factory and pay rent to do so. I think we're in that space, but there needs to be a solid understanding technically to allow higher level conversations to bring people in.
So I really need to seriously dissent here. You just cannot say this is Web3. This is not Web3. It's nice. It's really great. Breaking down this barrier of entry and all that. It's awesome. But you have to find a different name for it because it's not Web3. Web3 is granite. This is what I wrote in the Discord. You're saying you're doing Web3 is like saying you're doing granite, when in fact what you're doing is building on top of granite that has been assembled with Web3 strokes. This is why you're still here today. Shows to build on foundations which simply no one can dismantle. This is why it's really interesting to deploy running code, running JavaScript on Decentraland, because I know it's on the blockchain. It's just not going to disappear. There's no big company that's going to decide, oh, well, now we're not doing this anymore and shut it down. This is what Web3 is all about. Not breaking down barriers to entry. Like with Web3, people have been interested in building tools that make it easy for people to break down the barriers of entry for people to come and create stuff in 3D worlds. And now we have Decentraland. Now we have something where it's really easy to deploy using NPM and all that kind of stuff, really easy to do rapid prototyping and all that. But all of that is not Web3. When you're doing an SDK scene, and then the only thing that's Web3 is when you're signing the contract to deploy it into the interplanetary file system and for other people to come and see with their Web2 tools, okay? Using a web browser to go see Decentraland. It's Web2. You're using, the only time it's Web3 is when they're going to the marketplace and signing a purchase. You're distributing NFTs. That's kind of Web3, but it's not breaking down the barriers of entry to anything. Web3 is the granite on top. All of this is built. That's my case.
Yes, I agree. I'm trying to explain or trying to like understand how I would explain that to somebody like my mom who has she doesn't even like, or just anybody, like they might just not care what it's built on. They want to know, is it safe? Can they buy assets and sell them? Will they retain their value? Can they build on it? Like those are the parts that are important. So I feel like we're just whether we define it this way or not, the new users that come in over the next 5 years, they are going to distort, in my mind, they're going to distort the definition of Web3, and it's going to morph into something different. Now, we know that the original, like what it is what it is. It is contracts built on the blockchain. But I just see it evolving into something that it does pull a little bit of Web 2. It pulls a little bit of Web 4, whatever that is. Like it's gonna evolve. And so my point is just that like we have to make our language. We have to stop, and we have to stop saying like, oh, that you know, that rug pull, you know, I thought my ape was gonna moon, and like normal people don't know what the hell that is. You guys all understood what I just said, but like you have to learn an entirely different language to play in this ball game that we're in. And so the more that we can make that language for new users make sense, the more they're going to be like, yeah, I got it. Like, oh, that, you know, oh, that NFT that I bought, you know, didn't do as well as I expected and the owners took off. Like that would be, you know, that's what that was. Like anytime that you have to learn new jargon to understand something, you're just automatically blocking out people and making it harder for them to understand it. So yeah, like I'm just saying, like as developers, you're going to have a deeper understanding of these things, but it also might be harder for you to communicate that with like a, you know, just a, I don't know, 20-year-old kid who's working at the dollar store, because they just don't have the same background as you do. And same with my mom, like she doesn't have the same background, so she's not going to understand it to the caliber that you guys as devs have. So yeah, I don't know. In my last job, we were instructed, do not use jargon because you will just lose. Because I would, you know, let's talk about 504s and IEPs. Like I understood what that was, but the parents didn't. And so we had to change our language to make sure that the parents understood the legal rights that we were talking about with their children. And I'm just saying, like, if we want this to work and bring in more people, daily active users, we've got to modify the way that we're talking. I think that we can do that and still understand that the technology is built on blockchain at the same time.
Here, here.
Yeah, they call that techno dorking.
The
So,
deep shall inherit the earth.
Proteus, are you techno dorking today?
Every day I try.
There you go. That's the whole point, right? I had someone tell me that. They said, dude, you're techno dorking again. And I was like, okay, I get it. Now,
Yeah, the geek shall inherit the earth.
no one's doubting. No one's doubting that. But I got a question. I don't remember this off the top of my head. That's why I'm asking it. Does Decentraland utilize account abstraction?
What do you mean?
Well, you sign in. There's applications that are doing it right now. So what you do is, and this is a very good onboarding tool. So through account abstraction, what we do is you allow them to socially log in with either their, Google account or whatever, and then a wallet is created for them on the back end. They basically a contract, right, is created, and then their assets basically just get stored there, and they can interact with your application, and that lowers the barrier to entry.
Yeah, it's been like that for a month already, almost.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad you did that, but I wasn't sure if you were taking advantage of that. That's good.
I have a question about the account abstraction thing. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, loud and clear. I can hear you.
Yes, and I did a thumbs down instead of thumbs up, but yes, I can hear you.
All right. So